Hello, my name is Diana Knott, and today I'm presenting my research, Villains, Victims, and Heroines, Constructing Female Security in the Context of the Shiv Sena Mahila Agadi in Mumbai, India, in which I conducted a discourse analysis considering female vigilantism, specifically within this group located in Mumbai. So to start off, to give you a little roadmap of where I'm going, I will first discuss some background of this group and vigilantism in general. Then I'm going to delve into how other scholars have addressed this puzzle, my own research question, my methodology, which was a discourse analysis, my key findings and implications, and avenues for future research going forward. So to start off, vigilantism is a term widely used across place and time to refer to extrajudicial violence. The Mahila Agadi, in which I conducted this research study, is the women's wing of the Shiv Sena political party, which is a far-right ultranationalist group in India. The Mahila played a major role acting violently against Muslims in the 1992 to 1993 Bombay riots, so they are embedded as in part of this larger nationalist party and have acted in line with them in these ways. However, Mahila women have also beaten men who assaulted and extorted women. So they are acting to secure female safety as well. So there's sort of a duality to them and certainly a nuance to their actions. So scholars ask, what explains vigilantism? Why do these women act violently? What explains vigilante behavior more broadly? Now, most scholars have not discussed women explicitly, and their discussion has centered around either male-specific groups, or they have not addressed gender whatsoever. So scholars can be grouped largely into three different schools of thought. So the first explanation is perceived state failure, in that inadequacy and or illegitimacy of state institutions, whether actual or perceived, such as police forces and legal systems, inspires vigilante behavior to arise as a response. The second one is communal morality, in which historical practices of community policing and in-group communal understandings of morality create a sufficient group environment for vigilante groups to act. And the last one is psychological security, in which self-identity is intimately tied to place in society and place physically, really. So for example, Evie Gerling, a scholar within this group, has identified most places where vigilantism occurs as in or near slums, specifically places that are on the fragile lower borderline of respectability, but that are still worth defending. So my research question then, going off of this, is first of all that female participation in vigilantism has largely been ignored by scholars. So how can we understand female vigilantism? And from there, discourses by outside actors can help shed light on how these outside actors are responding to women claiming agency. So my specific question then is, how do outside actors construct female security, identity, and empowerment in the context of the Shiv Sena Mahila Agadi? So my methodology is, specifically I conducted a postmodernist discourse analysis analyzing texts produced by outside actors. These texts can be grouped into two sources, really: social media via Twitter and Facebook, and news articles and videos from major English media outlets based in India. I don't speak any Indian languages, and so this was one limitation to my project, and that's why I relied on English news sources. Excuse me. And then also, in terms of boundaries, time-wise, I looked at 2011 on, grouped into 2013 to 2014 and 2016 to 2017, based on actors changing rhetoric within the political context of these times. Now, I identified three discourses, and here they are. I want to speak briefly about how I identified three different ways of characterizing these women, which correlated closely with distinct groups of actors. Then I'll go into some of the textual evidence. What I really want to draw attention to here is, curiously, the Sena's male leadership oscillates between the victim discourse and the heroine discourse based on political context at interchanging time periods. And we can see on the left that the voices are furthest away from the Mahila, and that they're just the general public of the Maharashtra state in India. And as we move towards the right, we're getting closer to the women's voices themselves, and that in the heroine discourse, I was able to include a few Mahila women's voices within the leadership structure. And so what's interesting is the closer I go to their own voices, the more positive the discourse becomes. So let's look at some of this in more detail. So for the villain discourse, the Senate is constructed as hypocritical. What is not directly addressed is women as part of the Shiv Sena. So observers dismiss and discount party views and legitimacy, including anything the Sena says in favor of women, as well as the women within the party, by describing them using these words. So the women aren't specifically addressed, but they are villainized as part of the larger, because they are part of the larger Sena party. Next, in the victim discourse, women are seen as cultural touchstones, which must be protected, and the Sena is protectors or heroes of these women. And really, here, women are constructed as passive actors. So here's a quote from a Shiv Sena male leader who was recently elected. "Women can drive at midnight alone in Mumbai only just because Shiv Sena is in Mumbai." And so women are seen as valuable and as people who have to be protected. However, they are not capable of this agency on their own. Third, we have the victim discourse, in which there is a distinction between equal representation and equality, and a pairing of sisterhood and solidarity with empowerment. So specifically, for example, in 2013, the Sena handed out 2,500 knives to women, which was highly political because the Congress Party was in power at the time. And one of the male Shiv Sena leaders who handed out these knives said, "The Sena has decided to empower women as the government has failed to do so." And it was also highly symbolic because the knives were given out on the anniversary of the Shiv Sena party's founder, Bal Thackeray's birthday. So my greatest finding across all three discourses was that women were politicized to further the political objectives of others. So these three different discourses are quite different from one another, but even across all three, women are politicized, even in the heroine discourse. We don't have access to the women themselves, or at least I don't, so I'm looking at them from a prism, but this does relate closely to literature and vigilantism. Specifically, literature on psychological security ties women's identity to place. The idea here is that acting with violence may be a way of returning oneself to a city that rejects you, physically by living in slums, but also psychologically as a stigmatized member of society. But what my research shows a little more on is if women's images are being co-opted through these outsiders' discourses, are these women really returning themselves to the city as the psychological security literature might suggest? Do these women have agency, and if so, to what extent? So my next research question is, how do Mahila women understand their own roles and actions? And how might this contest other popular conceptions? Do these women respond to these outside discourses? Thank you.